YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, one day away from the NFL draft. I cannot wait. We're going to be live during day one of the NFL draft, starting a little early and right here live throughout the draft, making predictions pick by pick, reacting to the picks and trades, and giving our analysis and winners and losers at the end of the day. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We got you covered throughout the draft and even after on winners, losers, and grades. And then we'll start going into preparing for this season. But this video, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this video. Basically, I'm taking all the rumors, surrounding the NFL draft, and I'm going to decide, we're going to play a little game. I'm going to decide if they're facts, if I believe in them, or if they're fiction, which I'm calling smoke. So, going to be a lot of fun here. Let's start with number one, the obvious one, the one that comes up all the time. The Cardinals, the rumor is, reported first by Pete Prisco of CBS, the Cardinals are not taking Murray, and he seems pretty darn sure about it. I first saw the report, and I didn't really think much of it. He's been wrong at times, but he's very smart. He's been around the league for a long time. So I didn't really think too much of it, and I was kind of still thinking Kyler Murray was a lock to the Cardinals because of, the visit with the agents, and it's just been the talk most of the time, and he fits their offense. But then Prisco's still talking this up, and he's just thinking the media's kind of got us convinced, and the league just thinks otherwise. So it's kind of bringing down my 90% Kyler Murray to the Cardinals to, maybe around 60, 70%. But since my pick is still the Cardinals will take Kyler Murray, I'm going to say that's smoke. So we had to throw Smoke and Jay Cuddy in there for the smoke. But that's what I think. I did not believe Baker was the first pick last year. A lot of these rumors I think is smoke because history's shown us at this time it's smoke. But last year, Baker Mayfield going one came out this time like, no way. This is just typical every year, and it happens. So you never know here. I'd say I'm about that 70% chance Kyler Murray's the first pick, but I'm kind of hoping I'm wrong for entertainment purposes because the draft's going to be crazy if he's not the pick. I don't know where he's going to go. I really don't. Maybe Miami ends up with them. It's going to be interesting. So smoke for that one. We're going to move on to the next rumor that I'm hearing, and that is Josh Rosen to the LA Chargers. There could be multiple teams that are interested in Rosen, and there are multiple teams. And I'm going to say, if the question was the Chargers, are they interested in Josh Rosen? I would say fact, but basically what it's saying here is the Chargers are the front runner right now for Josh Rosen, and I'm gonna go false. I'm gonna go smoke. Throw Jay Cuddy back up there because I think it's more likely that a team with more desperation that maybe actually needs a starting quarterback, they're more likely to give up more. They're more likely to push hard, and that means they're more likely to end up with Josh Rosen. Looking at the Washington Redskins, the Miami Dolphins, maybe there's a wild card team, and the Chargers are a wild card team, and there's a few other teams in there. Between the Bengals, the Broncos, the Giants. But to me, Redskins and Dolphins lead the way. So for this specific question, I'm saying smoke. But we'll see. Josh Rosen thing's very interesting. Don't really see players traded during the drafts really ever. It'll happen with, backup players here and there. Day 3 of the draft, but this year is crazy because Frank Clark was just traded for a first round pick, and some players could be traded during the whole draft. It's going to be interesting. Next rumor, let's bring it on here. The Niners like Quinnen Williams over Nick Bosa. Very interesting one because the clear cut. If you had to pick one pick that and make your mock that you were the most sure about, to me, it'd be the Niners taking Bosa before. But at the same time, this is coming out that they really like Quinnen Williams. Also coming out, they really trust Solomon Thomas at the defensive end spot opposite of D Ford. I'm more of a fan of Solomon Thomas sliding inside. I thought he should have been a 3-4 end coming out. So, a little disappointed he's not really in his position. But usually 3-4 ends convert to 4-3 D tackles. So, but maybe they want to take the best player in the draft here, the true best player in my eyes and maybe most people's eyes, maybe the Niners' eyes. So I can actually see it. But I'm kind of just sticking to 3 in a row. We got to bring Jay back up 3 times in a row here because I'm saying smoke, but I'm not guaranteeing the Bosa pick in any way. But it just seems to me like a fit. Seems like their type of guy. They need somebody opposite of D Ford. Solomon Thomas has not been the answer, but you need a rotation at the same time. And like I said, you also can slide Solomon Thomas inside to pair with DeForest Buckner. So I think that also makes a lot of sense. Quinnen Williams, I do think, is the best player in the draft, but just to me predicting the Niners board and who is the best fit for what they're trying to do on defense, it'd be Nick Bosa. So I'm going to have to say smoke on that one. But another one, just like Kyler Murray, would shake up the whole draft. If Quinnen Williams went second, that'd be pretty wild. But if Kyler Murray didn't go first, then one of these guys will. So the whole thing is a complete disaster if Kyler Murray does not go first. So let's see if we can get a fact out of this. The fourth one is Jets want Ed Oliver. They're very high on him. I've seen that plenty of times. It just seems like they're all in on Ed Oliver. There's reports coming out from people interviewing with people within the organization that they really like Ed Oliver, and everyone, is putting Ed Oliver, except for me, in their mock draft of the Jets, and I kind of gave it away. I'm saying smoke again. It is smoke season, and I think they wouldn't come out and just say this. I think they're more interested in Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams. If either are available, you would like to think one will definitely be available. I do think they have high interest in Jonah Williams as well, and they could trade back a little bit for a guy like that. So, and then they could like Ed Oliver. If the question was, are they high in Ed Oliver, you could say sure, but it just seems like people are locking in this pick for some reason, and it has to be smoked. They're not giving that away. I would understand giving it away. Talking about Baker Mayfield last year, if they had the first overall pick, but they have the third overall pick. I just don't see them. Do they really like Oliver over Quinnen Williams too? Like, what if he's on the board there, which he should be, according to my predictions, really? So, in a bigger need in Josh Allen, do you really like Ed Oliver more than Josh Allen? I'm saying smoke. It's got smoke all over it. So, on to the next rumor, we got the Raiders pick a QB and trade Carr. That's just kind of what's going around here. They want to select QB and trade Derek Carr. So, for both these to happen, I think it's a little ridiculous. This is just a smoke show right now because everything here has been smoke, and that's just, I told you in the beginning. A lot of rumors going into the draft, I think are BS. That's how it is every year, except for one last year for the team that had the first overall pick. So, I mean, for them to trade Carr or to take a QB and trade Carr on top of it, a long shot. There has been a few, so-called experts, people that, been around the league too, that actually they've been a believer in this. So it's very interesting to see if it happens, but that's a long shot to me. And then we have another Raiders one here, kind of goes into it. It's the Raiders will make a shocking pick at 4. Like, get ready, everybody. The Raiders will make a shocking pick, a surprising pick. That's everyone's saying right now. That's the reports. And they did make that pick with Colt Miller last year. That really surprised the world, surprised me. I thought he was a second-round player. And this one's tough to do because define shocking. To me, shocking would be a quarterback. And the last question was, will they take a quarterback and trade Derek Carr? No, but they could take a quarterback, take a quarterback and keep Carr. I can see that, but I don't think they take a quarterback. I think they like Derek Carr, but then some people, it really defines shocking because if Quinnen Williams and Josh Allen are on the board, you would think it had to be one of those picks, and they very well could take Devin White. So if Devin White is a shocking pick to you, then it's a fact. But to me, it's a little surprising, we'll say, if they take Devin White over Josh Allen and Quinnen Williams, but I also can see it. So I don't really know what to put up on the board here. It's tough because I still think it'll be Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams, but I've heard it could be Devin White, and it's some level of shocking, I guess, but I can see it now that we're hearing it too. It's in my mind, it's in everyone's mind. We'll say fact because I think a lot of people out there will actually say that too. I know everyone likes Devin White, but for them with Quinnen Williams and Josh Allen on the board, and just think about watching the draft and the Raiders are on the clock, in your head, and during our live stream, we're gonna be like, well, it's gotta be Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams here. Which one will it be? And then the wild card would be Devin White. So since it's a wild card, we'll say fact. That's a very interesting one, though. So definitely a team to look out for, especially with 3 picks. They can definitely make something happen there. Another rumor, the Giants' QB1 is Daniel Jones. And this one I'm pretty split on because I do think they do like Daniel Jones. They like him. But is he their QB1? I'm still on the Haskins, Dwayne Haskins train here for the Giants. I think we'll go before, it's smoke season. It's kind of been smoke season for the past month, really, maybe a little less. And before all that, 2 months ago plus, Dwayne Haskins was the guy. The history shows that's when it's not smoke season. That stuff ends up being true. So that's my feeling. But I also could see Daniel Jones. So many people see, they talk with people around the league. They think the Giants are taking him, whether it's 6 or 17. I don't know. Could be either. A little ridiculous. They could take him at 6 or trade back. I guess be a little better. And then he's got the connection with Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Cutcliffe, their quarterback coach. So there's a lot of connections there. And with Daniel Jones coming in there, he can still learn from Eli, and Gettleman can get his, which sounds like his wish, but that also means smoke is Eli being the quarterback again. But this was a tough one. I think it's about 60-40. 60% Dwayne Haskins, 40% Daniel Jones. That's kind of where I sit. Maybe it's even closer than that, because I do think, and I mentioned this on Twitter, what if it's just Drew Lock? That would be great, because I do like Drew Lock, but mainly because the whole process, it's just been about Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones, and they ended up taking Drew Lock, which to me, Drew Lock, I think out of all the guys, Shermer's guy would have to be Drew Lock. I think that's the best fit, but not much of a difference there. And it just seems like Shermer hasn't really been involved in this, so maybe that's what we're missing there. It just seems like Gettleman's just completely running the show, which it comes to the draft. Usually the GMs do, but we'll see. Like I said, it sounds like they do have interest, so that would be a fact. They have interest in Daniel Jones, but is he their QB1? I still think it's Dwayne Haskins. Again, could be wrong. Unpredictable draft, like always. Moving on to the next rumor. I know more of these are going to come out as soon as I finish this video, too. The Bengals not taking a QB in round 1. Very interesting, because Dalton's been solid. He hasn't really got the job done, though. He hasn't really got the job done. He also got hurt last year. They got a new coach in there. They could be looking for their guy. And there's talk that, out of one of those 4 quarterbacks, one of them could be there. And they also can trade up. So very intriguing. The main part is just because they got the new coach in there and they want to maybe change the style up a little bit. But I'm going to say fact that they're not taking a QB in round 1. I do like GRIER for them, possibly in the 2nd or 3rd round. So fact for me, I don't think they're taking a QB in round 1. But if somebody falls to them, that could change things. I really don't think they'll trade up for one. I don't see the reason for that. Even staying put, I don't think they'll take one, but if somebody falls, I can see it. I'm not going to say 100% they're not taking a quarterback with their first-round pick. So fact for that one. Finally, we get another fact here. And then we're moving on to the next team. The Dolphins not taking a QB in round 1. As you can see, you got Tua in the Dolphins jersey. Are they going to tank for Tua? I don't believe in the tank for Tua. They could be interested in Tua already, but they're not going to tank on purpose for Tua. And I actually like Justin Herbert a little better right now. So, but still a whole season to go through with that, and that's not the question. Are they not taking? They're not going to take a quarterback in round 1. Fact or smoke? This one is really, really hard because they need a quarterback desperately, and I think they got a Super Bowl winning head coach right there. He's got talent on defense. That linebacker unit's really good. That secondary is really good. And maybe you would wish you had a better D-line or more weapons on offense. I expect a guy like Charles Harris to step up for the pass rush on the D-line there. But basically what I'm saying is they have talent and the coach to win now. So you need a quarterback. Really, you need a quarterback to do this. Fitzmagic going to do it. He can win you some games, but I don't know if he's going to do it. So they definitely they're a team desperate for a quarterback. So that makes me want to say yes. But I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they'll take a quarterback in this draft or trade for Josh Rosen. So wait, what if they trade their first round pick for Josh Rosen? Then technically they are getting a quarterback in the first round. But it's a trade. I don't know how you put that. But I don't think it'll take a first round to trade for Rosen. I think it'll be a second. So Josh Rosen or maybe a guy like Ryan Finley, Jarrett Stidham, somebody like that. Maybe Tyree Jackson wait a little later. So I think that's what they'll go with, but it is a very tough one because they sit in a pretty good spot where they maybe only have to trade up a few spots or they can stay put, somebody falls to them, and they desperately need a quarterback. But, I'm a fan of getting your pieces ready for your quarterback. They need some offensive line help at the same time for that quarterback. So I'm going to say fact. They're not going to take quarterback in round 1. We'll see. Definitely a team to keep an eye on. Next up, we got the Redskins. They're trading up for Haskins. That's the reports. They're not going to be able to sit at 15 and get Haskins. So if they really like Haskins, they will have to trade up for him, and that's the rumors. And this is an interesting one because it's coming out like crazy now that they're very high. They're very high in Haskins. Before the reports were Drew Lock and Daniel Jones. So they very well could be high on Haskins and be willing to trade up for him. But I'm going to say smoke. I think it's just coming out. There's too much of this coming out right now. So once it gets more and more leaked, I think somebody wants it to get leaked. I think it's smoke. To me, I think they like Drew Lock, number 1. I think they like Daniel Jones. If they want to stay put and they can't get Drew Lock, Daniel Jones would be that number 15 guy. And if Daniel Jones on the board at 15 and the Giants already took a quarterback, that's an A+ situation for the Redskins. I don't want them to take Daniel Jones, but let's say their mind is set on him, they need him, and the Giants took a quarterback already before the 17th pick, and Daniel Jones on the board at the 15th pick, the Redskins can move back and get him. So that'll be ideal. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Daniel Jones, it'll be ideal if they really need him. So I'm going to say smoke here for Haskins. They could, like I said, not guaranteeing any of this, really. You can't guarantee anything when it comes to the draft. I can guarantee some player evaluations. That's my goal there, is to be right on those. But I'm going to say Drew Lock is their number 1, and I'm going to say maybe Haskins is their number 2, and then Daniel Jones is 3, but they're not going to go trade up for their number 2 or number 3. I think it's rarely happened in the past that teams done that. They trade up because they had to have their number 2 quarterback. It's happened before, and it's just those teams deserve to get bashed for it. But I just don't agree with it, And at the same time, if you have to trade back for a quarterback you're in love with, you're not really in love with them. So that kind of goes against my point that they could trade back. But it's a little different when you for sure can do it and get the guy still. So interesting situation there. I think there's just too much Haskins Redskins link going on for it to be real. Maybe that's just my take. Next up, the Packers are high on Drew Lock, and right away I'm gonna say, and I still got Smoke and Jay up there. I apologize for that. I'm gonna say fact. I think they are high on Drew Lock. I think their number 1 quarterback is Drew Lock. I think that's their type of guy. I'm not going to compare him to Aaron Rodgers really, but there are some similarities the way he moves outside the pocket and throws it deep and accurate. Way more accurate on his deep balls. So I'm going to say fact for they are high on Drew Lock, but it brings up another question, and that's, are the Packers taking Drew Lock? And right away, I'm going to bring Smoke and Jay right back. And he's actually got some comparisons. That's funny, actually. Drew Lock and Jay Cutler, which I don't agree with whatsoever, they've gotten some comparisons. But that's besides the fact here. I don't think they're taking Drew Lock. They can be high on him and not take him because they can be high on other players. Also, because when you have Aaron Rodgers and you had a pretty good free agency, or more than a pretty good free agency, you're competing for a Super Bowl every single year. So you don't want to get a first rounder that you put on the bench. Doesn't help you win a Super Bowl. You want to go grab a guy that can help you. They do have 2 first-round picks, so they can afford to do this, I guess, but at the same time, you can get 2 first-round guys that make an impact right away and help you win the Super Bowl. So if Drew Lock's sitting there at 30, I guess that's a different scenario. They definitely can take him, but I'm sticking with they're not taking him because I really don't think he's going to be there at 30. It's just, to me, it makes no sense. On to the next rumor here, and it's the Titans taking Drew Lock. I saw this morning. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And, I'm kind of combining, are they high on Drew Lock and taking Drew Lock in the same one here? And I'm going to say it's smoke. I'm going to put Jay back up there. I think it's smoke because I don't know where this comes from right now. And, both their quarterbacks are free agents after this year, but they do like Mariota, and they traded for Tannehill, so they do like them. Him. I think they will extend one of those guys at least. But they do need a quarterback for next year at this moment. But, and Mariota hasn't really stayed healthy. I just don't see it. You need some other pieces. You need a defensive lineman, another pass rusher. You need an offensive lineman and a receiver. And you would have to trade up for him, too. You would have to trade up for Locke, and that limits your picks. And they need those picks to compete this year. So I just don't see it. I don't see it. It's kind of random that came out. It's very interesting. What if we're sitting there watching the draft, and all of a sudden a trade happens, and the Titans come up in the early teens or even before 10, everyone's thinking to themselves, "Oh my God, they're taking Drew Lock, aren't they?" It's gonna be wild. I really don't see it. I don't know. It's kind of a strange one that came out. Next one, Will Grier going round 1. I've heard this one that he can actually go late round 1. Apparently, teams like the Patriots like him. There's teams that can trade back in and grab him. But right away, this one's easy for me. I'm going to say that's smoke. I'd be very surprised because that means he would be the 5th quarterback. There'd be 5 quarterbacks taken in round 1 because even though I like him a little, his potential better than Daniel Jones, it would still mean that Daniel Jones come off the board from what we heard. So that means Will Grier would be the 5th quarterback, and that's all you hear about from people around the league and covering the league. Weak quarterback class, very weak quarterback class. How would there be 5 quarterbacks going in the first round of a weak quarterback class? Just don't see it. Will Grier is still a work in progress. He has his flashy moments. Accuracy's off at times, gets a little wild, forces things. So I do like Grier's potential, but not a first-round quarterback. No way. I don't see it. But I guess you never know with the quarterback. Sometimes teams reach, but I just don't see it. Next one here, Montez Sweat is falling. And that was a tough one for me, but I'm actually going to say fact because, he will fall. I just don't think if the question was he will fall out of the first round, I would put Smoke and Jay back up there because I don't think he's going to fall out of the first round. I think he's too talented. They let him play at the combine, to compete at the combine. They let him play at Mississippi State when they knew about the heart condition. They were never afraid to have people sit because of it in the past. So it's very minor. I don't think there's really anything to worry about. I know some teams panic this close to the draft and get too scared and don't want to make a big mistake when they can get an impact guy. So some teams will pass, and that will cause him to fall. So fact, but I just don't think he falls. I don't think he gets into the 20s. I think he goes before the 20s. If he does get in the 20s in the first round, it's not far in there at all. So I'm going to say fact. Montez Sweat is falling, but I think you get my point that it's not going to be far. Won't fall out of the first round. So another guy with a similar situation in terms of is he falling? Michigan defensive end Rashawn Gary. Is he falling? And again, I think he will. I don't think he'll fall out of the first round. To me, this is a little more concerning than Montez Sweat because Montez Sweat was able to compete. Doesn't require surgery or anything. Some teams think Rashawn Gary needs surgery now. Some teams think he can play a season and then get the surgery. That's just not good to me. If the guy needs a surgery, he needs to get it now. He can't get hurt anymore and be out longer. And it's so close to the draft, teams would be alarmed by this. So I think he falls a little more than Sweat, but there's a potential that somebody can fall in love with the guy because there's those teams that really love developing the guys that don't really have the production yet. They're freak athletes. They have the size. They have the instincts. They just want to, polish them up a little bit. There's teams that just coaches that love that. So I can see somebody like falling in love with them and him actually going really early. But at the same time, this is a little scary. Does he need a surgery? Does he not? It's a big question mark. So, can he hurt his career by playing? A lot of question marks. I think he falls. I think he could even get into the 20s. But if the question was, does Rashawn Gary will fall out of the first round? I would say smoke, but it could be pretty close because there's a lot of question marks. But if he ends up going pretty early and doesn't end up falling, I'm gonna trust that team and say that he's good. He's good. I just worry about them playing him through an injury though. So only those teams know, and their medical teams they're the only ones that know really. So it's hard for us to say. On to the next rumor here. Rock Ya-Sin will be the first cornerback drafted. A lot of talk on this that teams are very high on Rock Ya-Sin, and he's the safer corner in the draft, and he could be the first corner taken. Teams like, his high motor, his mentality, his physicality at the line, his ability to play in press and off man, and his playmaking ability on top of all that. People like that a lot. So he could definitely be the first cornerback taken. I've been seeing that a lot. But I'm going to say smoke here. I still think Greedy. It's got to be Greedy or Byron Murphy to me. To me, Greedy's the number one corner. So much potential and already a good player. For that alone, teams are going to want to work with him and already put him on the field. And then there's those teams that are just in love with the more polished guy, the guy that has the technique down, and who is the best technician corner in the draft. It's Byron Murphy. I don't see a whole bunch of upside with him, but still a first-round corner and pretty good and ready to play now. So I think it's got to be one of those guys. Teams will like DeAndre Baker's lockdown success, not allowing touchdowns, so very good in the red zone and been feared. And we saw him out of the game in the bowl game against Texas, and it just did not go well without him. So I think even Baker's got to go before Ya-Sin, but it wouldn't shock me if Rock Ya-Sin went before him. I just think Greedy and Byron's got to go. They have to go before him. I just don't see anything else. But, I mean, I guess we've been warned about this. It's a possibility. We've been seeing it a lot. So we'll see. I'm going to say smoke on that one. And we got one more. I know more will come up. Maybe we'll talk about them on Twitter. But a lot to get to before our live stream in the draft, so that's only a day away. And the last one is one wide receiver drafted in round 1, and that would be, people are saying, would be Marquise Brown if it was. And right away, I'm gonna say smoke. I think it's got to be at least 2. So I guess if the question was 2, that would be tough. It would be a very tough question. Probably should have made it 2. 2 receivers drafted in round 1. If there were, I think it would be Marquise Brown and DK Metcalf. Somebody's gonna fall in love with Metcalf's size and athletic ability. It's bound to happen. So I really think at least 2 guys will go. I think some teams will view Nikhil Butler or even A.J. Brown as their number 1 receiver, but is that enough for them to go first round? There also could be a surprise receiver going first. Some people, Paris Campbell's not super surprising, but some people like his athletic ability. Hakeem Butler's freakish size, but does have drop problems, so that would be somewhat surprising. I even heard the big-time dark horses are Riley Ridley because he's very physical, press doesn't faze him, and then Miles Boykin because of his size and his athletic ability, his ability to play in the slot and outside for a good-sized guy. Andy Isabella because he's insanely fast, very shifty, knows how to get open, dominated Georgia. So those are the deep wild card guys. Do not see those guys going first, but the question of one receiver, which people are bringing up, I just think no way. It has to be more than 1. I know the defensive talent is crazy and people are going to overdraft quarterbacks and trades will shake things up. I just don't see 1. 2 would be a darn good question. I don't know if I would be able to answer 2. I don't know because my latest mock, the whole process, I've been more than 2 all day, but my latest mock it ended up being only 2. So it could be right at 2. And we're going to see. But I think teams will fall in love with those, even receivers outside of Marquise Brown and DK Metcalf. But at the same time, DK Metcalf can scare teams, injury, and what else can he do besides, go down the sideline? So it is possible that only 1 is drafted. It could be Marquise Brown. The question isn't really, is Marquise Brown the only receiver? But we'll see. Going to be an interesting draft, and really enjoyed this video. So, and I'm sure more rumors will come out, so we can talk about those on Twitter. A couple more. I want to do a Q&A tonight, I'm hoping. I'm probably going to schedule that at some point, maybe before this video actually goes live. I want to do a Q&A with you guys. I want to make it happen, but I need to finish my rankings, type it all out in the spreadsheet. I want to get you guys the link to that, position rankings, big board, so you have that for the draft too. So, and then we're going to be live tomorrow. Got to get all that ready. There are a couple other guys are getting involved with that. So hopefully you can join us. Going to be a lot of fun. My favorite day of the year, favorite day for the Goat House. But thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion on these rumors. Any more rumors you want to talk about, go to our Twitter. Ask me a question. I never turn anybody down. Link in the description for our Twitter. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this one. And I forgot to mention that our subscriber goal is at 20K, and there's our Twitter bottom right, like button, notification button's key in case I go live at any time. So any of that is much appreciated. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.